When we look at a mountain railway, we see a product of the industrial age. But the fundamental logic of the train, the idea of a vehicle restricted to a fixed, guided path, is much older. Over 2000 years ago, the Greeks constructed the Diolkos. This was a paved trackway across the Isthmus of Corinth, designed to move heavy warships over land to avoid the long, dangerous sea journey around the Peloponnese. It wasn't just a road. It featured parallel grooves carved into limestone, ensuring that the wheel platforms stayed on a precise course. This concept of the guided path is the direct ancestor of the modern rail. The reason the guided path became the backbone of global commerce lies in physics. Specifically, it is a matter of rolling resistance. When a rubber tire moves over asphalt, it deforms, losing energy as heat. A steel wheel on a steel rail, however, has a contact patch roughly the size of a human thumbnail. Because both surfaces are incredibly hard, very little energy is lost to deformation. This efficiency is why a single locomotive can pull thousands of tons of cargo. It is an engineering secret that remained largely dormant until the mining boom of the late Middle Ages, where wooden rails were used to haul ore. By the 18th century, wood was replaced by cast iron, but the power source remained biological: horses. The transition to the iron horse required a leap in steam technology. In 1804, Richard Trevithick successfully placed a high-pressure steam engine on wheels in Wales. While the engine was too heavy for the brittle iron plates of the time, it proved that steam could move itself in a load. This set the stage for George Stephenson, who would later refine the locomotive and, perhaps more importantly, establish the distance between the rails that we still use today in much of the world. Stephenson's choice of 4 feet, 8.5 inches, now known as standard gauge, was not based on a grand scientific formula. Instead, it was likely influenced by the width of existing horse-drawn wagons and the tramways of northern England. As the British exported their railway expertise, this arbitrary measurement became a global standard. However, as the technology reached the borders of the Russian Empire, engineers faced a different set of geographical and political challenges. They decided that if they were to conquer their vast interior, they would need a different foundation. The Russian Empire chose a wider gauge of 5 feet, or 1,524 millimeters. There are many theories as to why, ranging from military defense to the need for larger, more stable locomotives on soft soil. This decision created a massive physical barrier at the border, but it allowed for a unique engineering ecosystem to develop in the east. By the late 1800s, Tsar Alexander Roman III looked toward the Pacific. The result was the Trans-Siberian Railway, an ambitious project to lay an iron spine across 1/3 of the northern hemisphere, connecting Moscow to the distant port of Vladivostok. Building the Trans-Siberian was a struggle against geography itself. Engineers had to contend with the Siberian permafrost ground that remains frozen year-round but becomes unstable when the surface thaws. Bridges had to be designed to withstand the immense pressure of ice flows in the spring, and hundreds of miles of track had to be laid through dense, swampy forests known as the taiga. It was a project of such scale that it required the mobilization of nearly 90,000 workers, many of whom labored by hand with picks and shovels in some of the most extreme temperatures on Earth. One of the greatest obstacles was Lake Baikal, the deepest freshwater lake in the world. Initially, the railway simply stopped at the shore, and passengers had to board massive ice-breaking ferries to reach the other side. During the winter, tracks were actually laid directly onto the thick ice to move cargo, a precarious and terrifying operation. Eventually, the Circumbaikal Loop was completed, requiring 33 tunnels and over 200 bridges and viaducts carved into the sheer rock of the lakeside cliffs. This section remains one of the most complex pieces of civil engineering in the history of transport. Today, the Trans-Siberian is more than just a historical monument. It is a vital artery of global logistics. It spans 772 miles, crossing 8 time zones. While air travel is faster and sea travel can be cheaper for bulk goods, the railway offers a unique middle ground of efficiency. A freight container can travel from China to Europe in roughly a third of the time it takes to go by sea. This efficiency is still rooted in that 2,000-year-old Greek secret: the guided path. By minimizing friction and maximizing the load, the railway remains the most energy-efficient way to move goods overland. As we look toward the future, The evolution of the rail continues. Concepts like the Hyperloop aim to take the guided path into a vacuum, removing air resistance to reach speeds exceeding 600 miles per hour. Others focus on magnetic levitation to eliminate the physical contact of the wheel entirely. Yet, even as these technologies emerge, the humble steel rail persists. It is a system that dictated the growth of cities, the outcome of wars, and the pace of human civilization. From a limestone groove in Greece to a 5,000-mile iron spine, the railway is a testament to the power of a simple, elegant idea. Ultimately, the history of the railway is a history of our attempt to shrink the world. By finding the most efficient way to overcome the friction of the earth, we transform the way we inhabit our planet. Whether it is a commuter train in a modern metropolis or a heavy freighter crossing the Siberian tundra, we are still riding on the foundations laid by ancient engineers. The rail remains an unbeatable marvel of engineering, proving that sometimes the best way to move forward is to stay on the tracks that history has already laid for us.
If you'd like more videos like this, you can subscribe and come back to Brief Stories anytime.